Tonight we're celebrating friendships, but with friendships come questions, issues, things we need to try to work through. We brought in our expert, Carol Rich, a clinical social worker at Pine Rest, to help answer some of those questions. Carol, thanks so much for joining us tonight. That issue of friendship, whether we're adults, we're dealing with our exes, we're dealing with the in-laws, our kids and friends, it's a big topic, isn't it?
It is. It's very complicated sometimes, but also one of the best parts of our life.
Absolutely. So that's why it's important we work at it. We went out and asked some of our viewers questions they may have, and I'd love to share those and get your responses, okay?
Great.
All right, our first question.
My daughter is in elementary school, and she has a few close friends, and she remains very, very loyal to them, which is awesome. However, I'd like to encourage her to expand her friendships without her feeling guilty. What should I do?
I like that question because so often when they're in elementary school, you have that one best friend, and that means you can't play with anybody else, or, you know, it's just a tough situation. How do we encourage our kids to branch out without them feeling like they're going to lose a friend?
Right. Well, I think that early childhood is a time to try on different relationships. So for a parent to look for some opportunities to be in environments with both familiar and unfamiliar faces. Maybe that's through a spiritual group or some kind of an activity-oriented programs, things like scouting or things like a hobby or an athletic activity. Because children will be drawn to each other and they'll be exposed to some children that they might not normally be around that will allow them to find out some new ways of having friendship.
I like that. That's a great answer because I think about, you know, our friends might be just in the neighborhood that they play with, but give them other opportunities to experience new friends. Very good. Let's take a look at our second question.
How do we as adults deal with relationships that have split up and yet still have respect for that other person?
Big question. What's your best advice on this one?
Well, when relationships end, we often have our most difficult emotions. Grief, sadness, anger, frustration. And so it's very important that we take care of our emotions while we're trying to navigate through that relationship to see what kind of relationship we can have. And often in the beginning part of a breakup, it's not an easy time to have a close relationship or sometimes even a respectful relationship. It really is about developing boundaries of what that relationship can look like. And that most often happens when there's divorce or when parents are breaking up and they need to still have a relationship to parent their children, and that's very, very important that they work at that.
Good. I think that's a great tip right there, that our kids need to see us working through it. Right. Not bad-mouthing or closing someone out.
Right.
Okay. Here's our next question.
I have a 3-year-old, and I'm one of those hands-on kind of controlling parents, so I would like to know, how do I let her make friends but also be very involved on what she's doing and how she's doing it with other kids?
A helicopter parent, it's in all of us. We want to get in there and, you know, manipulate the situation, make it work for our kid. What do you recommend?
Well, actually, I think this parent is on the right track because a 3-year-old really needs a hands-on parent. A 3-year-old is thinking about themselves. They're not thinking about the give and take in a relationship. And so they need adults there to help guide them, to help learn about principles like sharing, to help learn how to calm themselves down when someone takes the toy away from them and they don't yet know how to handle that. So I think she's on the right track to look for opportunities to be with her child, parent play groups, swimming lessons with a parent, things that would involve her to be able to help nurture being around other children with her guidance.
So it's okay to be involved. At what age do we need to step back a little bit?
Well, I think that when our kids get to be preteens and teenagers, they kind of require it.
They do. We learn that thanks to them. All right, let's look at another question.
As people grow, how would you maintain the friendship from a little kid to getting older in high school, because people change a lot?
I think kids in middle school and high school see this a lot. That childhood friend starts to make other friends, maybe gets involved in other things, and you long for that friendship you had when you were, you know, back in elementary school. What do you recommend for kids?
Well, probably it's important to know that friends come and go. and they really do throughout our lives. And when we're children and when we're teenagers, that's hard to understand that because it seems like our life, it's so much shorter at that point. But to know that we have different kinds of friends, usually when we start friendships, we're kind of drawn to someone, and then we develop it to a different level by sharing time together. And then there's a deeper level where we're very committed. And it's really only in that last part where we really work hard at maintaining the contact. And that hasn't really happened a lot with younger children. So they just need to know that that's normal, that their friends are going to change probably many, many times, and that that's okay.
And that it's not personal?
Right. It's often not at all about them. It's about interests, it's about people changing, it's about families changing, it's about people moving, and it rarely is about that one person and what kind of a friend they are.
Carol, we appreciate the work you're doing at Pine Rest to help us all have healthy, great relationships. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.